What's good YouTube? It's your boy Mir, and welcome to the ultimate guide for Luna, the best skill buffer in the game. Today we'll be going over her mechanics and how to play her, build recommendations, weapon and gear choices that synergize with her playstyle, as well as recommended substat priority. As always, if you're enjoying the content, consider subscribing, and if you have any further questions, I'm live every night on Twitch, the link will be in the description, and if you want to support me even further, my First Descendant creator code will be in the description as well. But without further ado, let's get into it.
내 공연에 초대받아서 즐겁지 않아? 다들 신나게 감상이나 하라고.
Starting with Luna's passive, Improvisation. While playing Luna's rhythm game, pressing a skill on note gives her one stack of her custom resource inside her inspiration gauge. When Luna's inspiration gauge fills up from 14 stacks, she can use an enhanced skill. Using an enhanced skill fully depletes the inspiration gauge, but Luna's buff gains an additional benefit. However, failing to hit a skill on beat, you lose a stack of inspiration gauge and the ability won't activate and go on a cooldown. Luna's first ability, Stage Presence, equips her unique weapon, allowing for the use of her other 3 skills. Equipping her weapon starts the rhythm game that will display notes that can be shot on beat to not consume MP and give a stack of perfect pitch, which increases her skill power modifier per stack. When failing to shoot on beat, each shot will consume ammo and MP. If your ammo or MP reaches 0, this ability will deactivate. However, it's possible to keep her weapon up 100% of the time by shooting on beat to not consume MP and pressing skills 2, 3, and 4 on beat to replenish ammo. Luna's second ability, Exciting Act, gives Luna a 20% skill power modifier increase at base and 65% increase when enhanced, as well as giving allies in range a skill power increase of her max MP times 3.5% at base. While enhanced, this multiplier goes to 7.5%. She also gives a 50% skill crit damage increase and 35% skill crit rate increase. Luna's third ability, Relaxing Act, allows her to recover MP when shooting on beat. At base, it's 0.8% per shot, and enhanced gives 4.3% per shot. This ability also gives allies MP recovery based on Luna's max MP times 0.7% at base, and max MP times 13% while enhanced, as well as reducing skill cost by 56%. Luna's fourth ability, Cheerful Act, allows Luna to gain inspiration stacks to fill her inspiration gauge when hitting enemies with an on-beat shot. At base, it gives 1 stack per shot, and while enhanced, gives 2 stacks. Allies in range will have their cooldowns reduced by 10% for 5 seconds, while enhanced, allies in range of the initial cast will have all their cooldowns reset immediately, while also giving 41% cooldown decrease. This cooldown decrease will also apply to allies who walk into range after the initial cast. Now that you know all of Luna's abilities, let's get into how to actually build Luna. For Luna's support build, we'll be using Nimble Footsteps as our Transcendent mod. This will give us a movement speed and skill range buff. It also gives our allies the movement speed buff. For our survivability, we'll be using increased defense and increased HP. We'll also be using Agony for max MP and defense. Since Luna's buff scale off max MP, we'll be stacking that. So we have Enlightenment for 15% more max MP, and then MP Accelerant for skill duration and max MP. Luna doesn't really scale off duration at all. The only time duration applies is when your allies leave your buffing range. So building for duration isn't really useful, but having a little bit of extra plus MP works out. We'll also be using Art Concentration. What this does is it gives you a stack every time you use this skill, and 10 stacks when using enhanced skill. And the higher this stacks, the more defense and MP you get, up to 63% defense at max stacks and 39% max MP at max stacks. The downside of this mod is you won't be able to roll or grapple. Well, you can, but when you do, you lose all of your stacks. But this isn't really that big of an issue since Nimble Footsteps gives us movement speed. We'll also be gaining movement speed from our weapons. For Luna's damage, we'll be using Tech Master, which gives us skill power and tech skill power. The reason we're using Tech Master instead of non-attribute master is when you're trying to buff an individual skill, using the skill's category will give you more damage than using the skill's element. We're also pairing Tech Master with Passionate Sponsor. This gives us a buff every time we buff one of our allies, up to 75% firearm attack and 75% 25% skill power modifier. Then we're pairing that with skill insight to increase our skill's crit rate. Finally, we're using skill expansion to increase our buff's radius. The reason we're only using a single range mod is nimble footsteps gets us up to 16 meters at max stacks, and then skill expansion gives us 7.4 meters. Together goes to 23.4 meters, which is 0.6 off of the max. So using another range mod will help you out at the start of the fight, but towards the end of the fight you'll be suffering from diminishing returns because you'll be way over the max cap for range. So that's why I decided to only go with one. But if you want your range to start off higher, you could remove increased defense or another mod and slot in another range mod if you'd like. I'd recommend amplification control over maximize range, just so you don't lose the extra skill power modifier on your unique weapon. Now it is possible to make Luna's buffs actually stronger. Instead of using agony, you can use HP conversion MP or shield conversion MP. At the cost of your survivability, you'll be able to buff your team even further, but I feel like that's not necessary. I'll leave this up for a second so you can get a screenshot before moving to the next build. Next, we have the support / DPS build. It's very similar to the support build, except this will allow you to do more damage. This is the build I normally run when doing public intercept missions, but when you're running with an entire squad that's built around using Luna, I would use the support build so you can buff them up as much as possible. So for this build, we're using non-attribute master to buff our non-attribute damage. We're using skill insight and skill concentration for crit rate and crit damage on our skills. Then iron defense to buff our defense and our skill power modifier as well. And then the rest of the build remains the same as the support build. You can swap iron defense for spear and shield if you have it. I got higher damage with using iron defense, but spear and shield is another alternative that works fine. If you'd like to go for even more damage, you can remove enlightenment and instead slot technician here, because you will still be getting max MP from art concentration, but your buffs will take more time to ramp up, but that is a choice you have. A quick note before we talk about the DPS build: you only need to level up nimble footsteps 2 to 5 times to be able to slot it into all these builds that I've talked about, so don't waste your resources like I did leveling it to max. For Luna's DPS build, we'll be using Noise Surge as our Transcendent mod. This changes all of your buffing abilities into damaging abilities with different effects. Your second ability will now buff your skill crit rate, your third ability will now buff your skill crit damage, and your fourth ability now buffs your skill power modifier. Now for the build, we'll be using amplification control, skill expansion, and frugal mindset to increase our range without hurting our skill power modifier by using maximize range. Then we have Stim Accelerant and increased HP to increase our survivability. Then for our damage, we'll be using non-attribute master paired with singular specialist. Then skill insight and skill concentration for skill crit rate and crit damage. For the final mod, we're using multi-talented to give us a 30% damage increase. We'll be able to have this up 100% of the time because we'll be spamming our 2, 3, and 4, which are all singular abilities. So this synergizes really well with Luna's build, as it does with a lot of characters. But that's it for all of Luna's builds. I'll leave this build up for a second so you can screenshot, and then I'll go back to this one so you can get a screenshot of this one as well. And now we're done with the build section. Let's get into her weapons. Luna can really make use of any weapon since her unique weapon doesn't take the attributes from whatever your equipped weapon was. Instead, it uses some of the abilities from certain mods, which we'll go over. But I do recommend using the MirDxsu's Devotion because Luna can't break invulnerability points when a intercept boss becomes immune. So using MirDxsu's Devotion to break those points will also lower the defense of the intercept boss, which can help your team out. So it's kind of like a buff weapon. Now for all of Luna's weapons, you want to build them the same. You want these 4 mods specifically: expand weapon charge to increase your rounds per magazine, concentrate support ammo to increase your rounds per magazine, and then call in special forces to increase your movement speed while aiming. These 3 mods will be on every weapon that you build for Luna. The reason for this is Luna's initial ammo can be increased by using round per mag mods on your weapons. Aside from those 3, then you'll be using a special mod because Luna's weapon can take advantage of these. Now for MirDxsu's Devotion, the best one to use is Defense Master. When defeating, the ads or random enemies, you increase your defense for 10 seconds. And at max, this mod goes down to 15 seconds, so it'll be a 5-second cooldown before this can reactivate. For general rounds weapons, such as the Thunder Cage, you'll be using the same build, except I would recommend using Brisk Walk as your special mod. This gives you plus 10% movement speed for 5 seconds every time you get hit. And since we can't grapple or roll with Luna's build, this pairs really nicely with her. Also, we gain movement speed from nimble footsteps, so this gets you up to 30%, which is the same as VS stasis speed boost and glaze speed boost, or bionic fuel bunny. Now in special rounds weapons, I recommend using analysis master. This will buff your team's damage even further by reducing your enemy's firearm crit hit resistance. Also, if there's a special rounds weapon you really like, you can also use brisk walk on special weapons as well, so that's another mod you could choose. Another weapon that pairs really nicely with Luna to increase her survivability is the divine punishment. What it does is every time you buff an ally up to 3 times, you gain 5% defense. But other than that, you can really use whatever weapon you have invested in, like your enduring legacy, your python, thunder cage. It doesn't really matter since you'll be using her unique weapon. What's more important on Luna is her gear, which we'll get into now. For Luna's reactor, we'll be using a non-attribute tech reactor to buff her unique weapons damage as much as possible. As far as substats go, I would recommend just going full offense, so I went with skill crit rate and skill crit damage. You can also get non-attribute damage or tech skill power. And if you're using her DPS build, you want a non-attribute singular reactor. The only utility substat that really benefits her is range, and you really don't even need range. For Luna's external components, I would recommend getting the Hungry Sonic set if you feel like farming it. This does drop from Gluttony, but all this set does is give you increased duration, which doesn't do a ton on Luna, but it does increase your duration when your allies walk out of your buff. The reason I'm not recommending the set that drops from Frostwalker is it tanks your survivability because all of the main stats are max shield. With this set, you get defense, max shield, and max HP as main stats, just giving you a wide variety of different things to build into compared to just having a spec into your max shield. I tried and my survivability was just terrible, even with using shield mods instead of HP mods and things like that. So I would just recommend going with the Hungry Sonic set or using no set at all. Honestly, you don't really need it. This is a very minor thing, a very min-max type thing, so if you can't farm this set, it's really not the end of the world. As far as substats go, for your auxiliary, you want max HP and fire resistance. For your sensor, you 100% want max MP, as high of a roll as you can get, because this ups your base MP, which the percentage mods that we're using in our build will benefit off of. And as we talked about as well in the build section, Luna's buffs scale off of your max MP, so this just allows your buffs to do more for your team. For your memory, I recommend getting defense and electric resistance. You can also get shield recovery in combat, that'll help with your survivability a bit more, but either or is fine. For your processor, I will go with max shield and toxin resistance. You can also get shield recovery modifier. Now that you have everything you need to build Luna, let's get into how to actually play Luna. Okay, now that you have your Luna built, how do you actually play her? So, of course, at the start of a fight, you're going to want to pop your unique ability. When you do, this mini game will pop up. It's a rhythm game, I guess you would call it. Now you want to shoot on beat. What this does is it allows your MP bar to not drain. But if you shoot off beat, your MP bar starts draining. So, you know, you're going to want to try to hit these on beat as much as you can. You're also going to want to switch abilities on beat. Otherwise, your abilities won't pop. I mean, I guess I got it on beat there, but let me wait. Okay, I'm just too good, I guess. But if you miss getting the ability on beat, the ability won't do anything and you just lose MP. So Luna really is just a big rhythm game. Now for your gameplay loop, you're going to want to start off the fight obviously popping your unique ability, right? You're going to pop your 4th on beat. This is the fastest rhythm game and allows you to build your custom resource as fast as possible. Now when your resource is max, you can swap to your enhanced skills, and this increases your buff and capabilities even further. So you'll want to get to your enhanced state as fast as possible. You can also get to your enhanced state just by switching abilities. This does take way longer because obviously your abilities have slight cooldowns. But as you can see, I popped 3 different abilities and I have 3, but you want to use your Z to get it as quick as possible. But you also will be switching through abilities to build your arc concentration buff, just so the uptime doesn't go away. But you want to just stay in your red as much as possible. But that's pretty much it for Luna's support build. Let's talk about her DPS build. So you're going to start with your 1, of course. And then now for her noise surge mod, we're going to be spamming our abilities on Q. Your second ability will increase your skill's crit rate, even when non-enhanced. And then your third ability, the blue one, will increase your skill's crit damage. You can see. And then the 4th one is your skill power modifier. So you'll be spamming your 4th ability. You get to, you know, get jiggy on the hoverboard again. You can really use any of them. I'm not sure which one does more damage actually. I would think the crit damage one would give you the most amount of damage, but maybe the skill power modifier does. Crit rate one won't really give you higher numbers, but it will make your numbers higher more consistently. So yeah, you can use any of them. You're really just spamming abilities. Honestly, I would just go with whichever music you like the most. Because when you're using Luna like this, you're pretty much, you gotta be using her for fun, because like why else when you just use Bunny? So I don't really think it's that important which one of these you use, but that's pretty much it for how to play Luna. The hardest part about Luna is just keeping up with her rhythm game. Another thing that they actually added, which is really nice, is as you can see this like teal circle around him. So as long as an enemy is within this little like window of your mini game, you don't have to aim at them to get damage. So as you can see, I hit him there, and then I also hit him there. So that's kind of like, you know, a quality of life thing. So don't worry about aiming at the enemy too much. Just make sure that they're within this little mini game window and you'll be able to hit them. Another thing to note is when bosses go in their immune phase, you can't hit their like immune points with Luna's weapon, so you will have to cancel your abilities and just use your normal weapon. But that's pretty much it on how to play Luna. I think if there's anything I forgot, leave it in the comments, you know, help some people out. Tune into my Twitch, I'm live every day. We just got a creator code on here. I probably said this at the beginning of the video as well, but we have a creator code now. So I'm not honestly sure where you enter this, but if you can find where to enter your creator code, use code MIR #8496. I'd appreciate it. I might as well click this, plug the oh, it pulls up my Twitch, doesn't it? But this is tough. I didn't even look at all these you know, things. But as you can see, you know, the Twitch right here, go ahead and follow that. The YouTube, or if you're on my YouTube and you're not subscribed, it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're already here, you might as well click this button. It's just waiting for you. That's it for me. Enough yapping. Next video, I'll be compiling all the XP, gold, and Kuiper farms into a single video. After that, I'll probably be working on weapons guides, but if there's anything you want me to upload, drop it in the comments, and I'll get to working on that as soon as I can. And I'll catch y'all. Have a good night. Peace.